Hello guys from Plant Reviews UK. Today is the 22nd of November and I'll talk today about one of the most popular superfruits in the UK as well as worldwide. That is the goji berry, and obviously about the plant that produces the goji berry, the Lycium barbarum or Lycium barbarum. I'm not too sure how in English you do pronunciate it, but I suppose would be most commonly known as the goji berry plant. This plant is in the family Solanaceae, the same family to which tomatoes and potatoes belong, as well as a variety of food crops and as well as a variety of poisonous plants. So be very careful of what plant in this family you decide to cultivate in your garden. This plant, the Lycium barbarum, is a shrub that is between 1 and 3 meters tall. And develops with very weak and arching branches, as you can see here. You can clearly see the shape, the arching shape of the branches, and as well, actually, on the top, you see a few berries as well coming to ripe on the upper branches, and definitely, yeah, this is because they have way more sun up there, while here in the sorry, I think I've lost the focus. Yeah, you can see here in the lower part of the fence with less light there's only a few berries developing. However, I'm quite pleased of the color. They look very well ripened now. This plant is native of China, but was introduced in many parts of the world, including Australia, North America, Europe, as well as the United Kingdom. There are several names by which this plant is known, including Chinese Wolfberry, Barbary matrimony, vine, red medlar, or Tibetan goji, or also Himalayan goji, and a few other names. However, the most common name for this plant is definitely Goji Berry Plant or Boxthorn, and both these names are used for this plant, the Lycium barbarum, as well as another plant in the same genus, Lycium, that is Lycium chinense. Lycium chinense differs from Lycium barbarum because in Lycium barbarum you can see this fruit is ovoid but still quite rounded, while in Lycium chinense the fruit instead is much more slender and pointed at the lower end, pointed at the tip, so it is much more elongate in Lycium chinense, while this one, Lycium barbarum, is more rounded, I would say more egg-shaped in Lycium barbarum. In the UK, this plant is also known as the Duke of Argyll Tea Tree or Duke of Argyll Tea Plant, and this is because the leaves of this plant can be used also for preparing a tea, but the name, the Duke of Argyll, is due to the fact that Archibald Campbell, that was the third Duke of Argyll, introduced this plant in the United Kingdom in the 1730s. This shrub is a very important crop, especially in northern China, but also in Tibet and Mongolia, and in other parts of the world as well, in particular the USA, but it is also very popular in the UK as a berry. The plant is usually a deciduous plant. It loses the leaves in winter. However, in warmer climates is evergreen. As I said about the size, this plant is usually between 1 and 3 meters tall. Most normally, yeah, you can see about 3 meters tall, and grows, as I said, with pretty weak and arching branches. What I do in my garden is basically what I did is planting the goji berry, and this is the main stem of the goji berry, near raspberries and honeysuckle, and as well as other climbers. For example, this one is the Stauntonia climber, and there is also a false jasmine, that is the Trachelospermum jasminoides. Basically, this plant growing all together, especially the climbers, are able to tighten the branches of the Goji Berry plant. In this way, I don't have like branches coming too much forward in the middle of the garden, and they are able to be kept at bay. And on the sides, as you can see, the arching branches are basically kept in place by the climbers. This indeed is the Stauntonia climbing and holding the branches of the Lycium barbarum of the Goji berry. Otherwise, this plant might really be too loose and kind of too messy in my garden, and this plant, especially because the garden can be quite windy, and the branches of this plant are quite slender and we can risk easily to break. I will obviously prune these branches on the top after I harvest the berries, because this is obviously a very exposed area at the top of the fence, and they will definitely get broken anyway by the strong winds. The plant also, in addition to growing mostly in arching branches, grows a lot of lateral branches from the main stem. However, some of the lateral branches grow just as spines, leafless spines, and as you can see here, I'm trying to focus on this part. This is a thing that needs to be kept in mind, especially if you have kids. Sorry guys, I'm still trying to focus on this part of the stem. Okay, hopefully, yes. You can see clearly this is a lateral branch that is reduced as a spine, and they are actually quite sharp, so you have to be very careful if you have kids that might be attracted obviously by the red berries of the plant that are edible obviously when they are fully ripened. However, you have to be very careful that they don't end up with the spines nearby, so it's always better to keep kids and or pets to monitor them if they are around this plant. The plant is a plant, as I said, that can be evergreen in winter, but usually loses the leaves in winter if you live in a pretty cold area, like in many parts of the UK. And the leaves are dark green. They are lanceolate, but sometimes they can have a more rounded shape, as in this one. As you can see here, the leaves, a difference in the shape of leaves. Most of them are lanceolate, as you can see, but as I showed you, there is one that is more rounded. The flower is a flower that is pretty small, is about 1.5 centimeters in diameter, and is purplish with 5 petals. It's a very nice flower, very pretty, lilac purple, even if it's pretty small, about 1.5 centimeters in diameter, 1.5 centimeters. The flowers are able to self-pollinate, but can also be cross-pollinated by insects, and if pollination is successful, then they start producing the typical berries that obviously from green will turn red when fully ripen. The berry is bright orange to red, and it is between 1 and 2 centimeters in diameter and 1-2 centimeters long. Is rounded, a little bit oval, I would say, egg-shaped. In the UK and in the Northern Hemisphere in general, flowering occurs between June and September, while the berry mature between August and November. As I said, if the frost does not occur, not only the plant doesn't lose leaves, as I said, however, also the fruiting is continuous all year round. And that's an information that I found on Wikipedia, as most of the information that I'm sharing with you today. And I will put the link about this plant as well on the comments, on the description of the video. In the UK, in addition to be cultivated for the berries or for the leaves, if you like tea, this plant is also used for hedging, and in particular in coastal areas. And the berries, in addition to be eaten by humans, are also a delicacy for a variety of birds. These plants grow wild in the UK, in UK hedge rows, and on the 15th of October 2003, the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, DEFRA, launched a project to improve the regulation protecting the traditional countryside hedgerows, specifically mentioning the Duke of Argyll's Tea Tree, that is the very common name for this plant, the Goji Berry Plant, the Lycium barbarum, so mentioning this plant specifically as one of the species growing in hedges located in Suffolk, Sandlings, Headlake, Bowdsay, near Ipswich, and Webbleswick. I hope to have pronounced these names correctly. Otherwise, please forgive me, because my English pronunciation sometimes is terrible. As you know, I am originally Italian, and my pronunciation sometimes is not great. The importation of mature Lycium barbarum plants into the UK from most countries outside Europe is illegal, due to the fact that some of them might be parasitized or anyway infected, and therefore might carry diseases attacking other Solanaceae plants, such as potatoes or tomatoes. The plant is also an important crop in the USA, as well as obviously in China and Asia, while in Australia it is considered a noxious weed, in particular in Victoria and Tasmania. This plant is able to produce runners, and quite a few runners, so needs to be monitored in the garden because can be pretty invasive. This plant is hardy in USDA zones between 5 and 9. However, one variety called Phoenix Tears has been found hardy throughout the USDA zones between 3 and 10. So, considering the USDA zone, this plant, all the varieties of this plant are supposed to be very hardy throughout the United Kingdom. I found as well that the minimum temperature for this plant is minus 15 degrees to survive, and I would say that the majority of the UK doesn't experience temperatures below that. In addition to the fruit that can be eaten fresh, only when fully ripe, the leaves are, as I said, as well can be used as a tea substitute. The fruit can be eaten fresh or cooked, and well, now I will eat this fruit. I will pick it up and eat it. The flavor is nice. It's not particularly sweet. I found on Wikipedia that the flavor is described as a mild sweet licorice, and I would say yes, this is kind of similar, yeah, to licorice. I would say that I've eaten tastier berries. Anyway, the flavor is still quite nice, very peculiar, I would say. About this fruit is considered a superfood because it is extremely rich in vitamins, in particular vitamin A, C and E, as well as flavonoids and antioxidants, and also in essential fatty acids, and this is unusual for a fruit to contain a good amount of essential fatty acids. In addition to this, the fruits stimulate the fruits chemical compounds, especially the polysaccharides and the antioxidants. It has been found that they stimulate the immune system and also have great anti-aging effects. The fruit, in addition to be eaten fresh, can be eaten cooked. However, obviously, when cooking the fruit, remember that the vitamin content gets affected because some vitamins are temperature are well basically destroyed by high temperature, so the vitamin content might be lowered. The fruit has been used for centuries in China as a traditional medicinal food and also as a food supplement. About the cultivation of this plant really can grow in a variety of soils. Here I used to plant, I bought this plant from I think Morrison's supermarket, but you can find this plant very easily in garden centers. But as I said, is very easy also to find in supermarkets. Sometimes, you know, they have some fruiting plants, especially the berries that are sold on some shelves in the gardens of supermarkets like Morrison or Wilko, and Goji Berry and is one of the most common berry plants to be sold, and I think I bought it like for £2.50 or £3, so very cheap. I planted this plant 3.5 years ago, and this is the first year I have fruits from this plant. The plant actually flowered last year, but I didn't get any fruit, so I'm very pleased to have had some fruits this year. The plant is really adaptable to a wide variety of soil, sandy, loamy or clay. However, definitely prefers well-drained soil. I planted just in general compost in a hole about twice the size of the root ball, but this plant grew a lot regardless, and the soil here in my garden is clay, and it is absolutely adaptable to clay. The thing is, this plant anyway still prefer well-drained soil and some moisture. About the moisture, actually I planted it in a very well position because this is the wettest part of my garden. Problem is that it's also the shadiest part of the garden, and probably this is the reason, because I didn't have many fruits, especially in this area that is always in shade, and most of the fruits instead are concentrated, as I showed you, on the upper branches that receive full sun. However, as I said, I'm quite pleased to still got some fruits. And about the soil pH, is not fussy at all, can adapt to alkaline basic soils, but also neutral or acidic. Is always better anyway to keep the soil moist. I've found that it is kind of drought tolerant, but definitely grows better and gives a better fruit yield if it's kept moist all year round. About the exposure, as I said, full sun is great for this plant, but can grow also in partial shade. Here most of the plant unfortunately grows in full shade and still manage to produce a few fruits in full shade, as you can see. However, definitely if you aim for a nice good crop, give at least partial shade, even if ideally full sun. And as usual, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you found it useful. I hope that well, to see you around in this channel for my next videos. If you like this video and you like my other videos on this channel, it would be great if you can please subscribe, and also if you would like some more information or you put any comments, either positive or negative, please do it here down below in the comment section, and I will reply you as soon as possible. Again, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.